大家好，今天我们是要向大家介绍加拿大新创科技加速器 Canadian Technology Accelerator Program is run by Taiwan Canadian Trade Office in Taipei. So my name is Judy Chen. I'm the CTA manager, based in Taipei. 我要跟大家介绍我们新创科技加速器。下一页。主要我们新创科技加速器在全世界总共有13个据点，台北是亚洲区的5个据点之一。每年我们会招收10到12个团队进行辅导。加拿大的公司来台湾，不外乎是在 AIoT 的产业跟产业界做连结，同时也希望能够在台湾的产业跟产业界有一些策略合作的伙伴关系。大多数都是在资金的挹注以及 POC 的开发，当然也包含了未来在市场通路的拓展以及直接客户的销售上头能够有更多的发展机会，所以加拿大新创科技加速器已经从2019年成立至今，经过3年的努力，辅导了超过30家新创科技的团队。今天我们要向大家介绍的其中8家是我们今年2020年春季的 batch。稍后就会一一的向各位介绍今天这8家公司。那简单的询问一下，大家对于新创科技加速器的概念，我想应该都不外乎 mentorship 还有 consultation。那主要我们在台北的任务就会以这个部分为主，同时协助产业的对接。所以如果台湾的各位产业先进或者是投资人有意愿想要跟我们新创科技合作，都欢迎会后可以跟我们直接联络，或者是稍后您会听到每一间公司的简介，简介完之后都会有他们的联络方式，欢迎你们直接可以跟厂商 email 联系。同时，我想要跟各位说明一下，我们 AIoT 的联网应用在台湾目前已经有好几个成功的案例，包含是在智慧安防以及智慧交通上头都有加拿大公司的痕迹在里头。或许你们不晓得，但是在 cybersecurity 还有台北市即将要推动的自驾公车，都有加拿大的技术应用在系统整合的部分，所以很多关键的元素都是来自加拿大。或许经过今天的 session， 我们会有更多的合作的机会。时间有限，那我想我就直接进入第一间公司。今天我们有8家公司可以跟各位说明，那8家公司的适用领域包含 AIoT 应用在3D 的资料整合，还有智慧医疗，以及我们现在最流行的抗疫情的消毒技术。那第一间公司主要是 CTA Innovation， 他们正在开发还有商业化革命性的医疗设备，透过增加骨头的表面面积，把矿物质的含量还有骨头的密度提高，可以对付骨质疏松症的问题，还有降低骨折的风险。这间公司目前是希望寻找资金以及未来的商业合作伙伴。那我们就直接来看这一间公司的 pitch。
Hello everyone, I'm Marcel Marois, CEO and founder of CTA Innovation. I'm here to introduce you to our medical device that stimulates bone formation to either speed up the healing process of fractures or prevent future fractures. I would like to add also that my presentation is intended to tell you about this serious and silent disease. A disease that causes 1 in 3 women to suffer a fracture in her lifetime. I'm talking about osteoporosis, a bone disease that is characterized by a deterioration of bone tissue which causes bones to become very thin and fragile over time. A silent disease that can lead to death following a hip fracture in 30% of cases. It is a disease that costs more than $5,000 billion in direct cost in Canada, USA, and Europe alone every year. Osteoporosis is a disease more common than stroke, heart attacks, and breast cancer combined. This disease affects not only women, as 1 in 5 men over the age of 50 will also suffer a fracture due to osteoporosis in his lifetime. Osteoporosis is a very difficult disease to treat, in part due to the serious side effects of the medications, but also, according to our KOLs, 50% of their patients are refractory to medications and 25% consistently refuse to take them. Despite these facts, it is possible to treat this disease. We are working on a solution to strengthen bones and prevent fractures. I now have the privilege of introducing our non-invasive medical device, OSTAT. Our motto, one stimulation at a time. OSTAT is a non-invasive medical device that involves applying a low electrical current to specific areas to increase bone density to prevent fractures. OSTAT is easy to use, causes no side effects, and helps speed up the healing process of fractures in addition to preventing any occurring fractures. The proof of concept was done in a 10-week human clinical study, and the results were significant. Our results are comparable to those obtained in 5 to 10-year drug studies. OSTAT is a solution that fills an unmet need for physicians and their patients. The next steps include the in vitro study to determine the mechanism of action of the technology, to start the development and the certification of the official device, to conduct the multi-center human clinical study with our collaborating physicians in Canada, France, Spain, Tunisia, and hopefully in Taiwan one day. And finally, to file for regulatory approvals in the countries where we want to commercialize. In terms of intellectual property protection, international PCT patents have been filed, as well as patent designs and the trademark of OSTAT. To comply with all regulatory standards, including ISO certification, we have selected highly qualified partners. Having already gone through these procedures on another medical device projects, we know what to expect and what's required. Our multidisciplinary team is composed of experts from different backgrounds. Our team members comes from several medtech specialists and scientists from Canada, again, USA, Europe, Tunisia, and hopefully from Taiwan one day. This team is led by myself, Marcel Marois, CEO and founder. Our scientific collaborators, we are currently working with orthopedic surgeons, rheumatologists, and nephrologists from countries mentioned earlier. And we hope to be meeting physicians in Taiwan as well, very soon. Our niche market is people who have undergone partial or total hip surgery to help them get back on their feet quickly and prevent fractures in the contralateral hip. Also, and with people having osteoporosis who refuse to take medications. Our goal is to help the ones afflicted. Our business model is based on the razor and blade business model. In order to increase the effectiveness of the device, patients will have to use single-use electrodes, which will have a direct effect on recurring sales. The commercialization will go through the prescription made by doctors, then through reimbursement through the from the public health system and private insurance companies. After that, we're thinking about distribution, and our goal is to sign agreement with major medical device suppliers. We are seeking $2.6 million US that will allow us to conduct the clinical studies, to start the R&D of the device, as well as the certification of it. So if you feel concerned, or if our project resonates in your mind, do not hesitate to contact us. Our goal is to keep everyone physically active, regardless of age. So thank you very much, and I'm available to answer all your questions.
谢谢刚刚的 CAD Innovation 带来的针对骨质疏松症可能可以做到的预防措施，就是他们的最新技术。向大家介绍，他们目前是需要资金，所以如果有兴趣朝向这个部分发展的 VC 或者是 CVC 的同仁们，欢迎直接跟 Marcel email 联系。下一家的话，我们是要向大家介绍 HaiLa Technologies。我们都知道物联网的装置里头是一直没有办法普遍使用的障碍，就是来自于无线电本身在无线感测器的节点上总是非常的耗电。那这样子的零组件可以透过 HaiLa 的反射晶片取代，进行所谓的低功耗物联网感测电池创新。那目前这样子的零无线电技术还是在市面上从来没有见过，所以我们今天想要让大家更加认识一下 HaiLa 这样子的无线网路频道是怎么样子可以用最小的成本达到最高的电力节省。那我们接下来就听听看 HaiLa 的说法。
It is such a pleasure to be with you all this evening and this morning. My name is Charlotte Savage, and I am the founder and Chief Innovation Officer of HaiLa. I'm here presenting with you today with our CEO and President, Derek Kuhn. So I'll start off with a little bit of an origin story and then pass it off to Derek. So I originally studied engineering here in Montreal, and I fell in love with biomedical applications. I got a job as a research assistant at McGill University, partnering with a medical technology startup known as NextSense Microsystems. We were building an implantable pressure sensor that reads pressure in real time so doctors know when to intervene. As one of the first employees, I had to build out the prototype. I had to find a radio on the market, I had to find a sensor on the market, and perform calculations to understand what type of power source we would need. After all of my research and calculations, I was extremely disappointed with the current golden standard for low power communication at that time, which was Bluetooth Low Energy. We needed a massive power pack over 10 times the size of the small little pressure sensor for 48 hours of data transmission. And unfortunately for a medical application, these devices are single-use disposables. So of course, the batteries end up in landfills instead of being recharged and reused. I couldn't believe the negative trade-offs when it goes from wired solutions to wireless solutions. So unfortunately, that was what we had to do. So we had to build out that device. Fast forward a few months, we won second place in McGill's Dobson Cup in the health track, which led us to going to the McGill X1 Accelerator. At the McGill X1 Accelerator, I met Helge Sietzen. Helge recruited me to come to Tandem Launch, a deep tech incubator, famous for their abilities to license technology from prolific universities all around the world. That problem with power consumption being a massive bottleneck for not only medical IoT devices, but all wireless sensors stayed in the back of my head, and I was really looking for a solution. All of a sudden, I came across this technology from Stanford University. Instead of creating a signal at a wireless device like standard radio protocols do, like Bluetooth did in my pressure sensor that I mentioned, this technology leverages existing signals already in your environment going from point A to point B, like Wi-Fi, for example, and it piggybacks on top of them to create a new data path. This method is known as backscatter. I believe that this is the solution that will enable IoT to scale sustainably. Once Helge and I did our diligence, we got a worldwide exclusive license for the 3 patents from Stanford University, and he invested $400K into our company August 1st, 2017. Since then, we have proven out our technology in many different use cases, but specifically temperature and humidity sensing, environmental sensing. We've won multiple awards, including the Nokia Bell Labs Open Innovation Prize, and we've also raised about 3.7 million USD from Stanford, Tandem Launch, and other Canadian VCs. We've also received a $3 million Canadian grant for sustainable technology development. I will pass the microphone to Derek to go into more details about our technology and our use cases.
It's a pleasure to be with everybody today. So, as Charlotte mentioned, our technology allows standard radio protocols like Wi-Fi to reach down into a power efficiency they've never seen before. Why do this? Well, we want to make sure that we address the problem that Charlotte mentioned, right? All of these batteries being thrown into landfill, or the power required to recycle them. It's immense, especially with the curve of how many of these wireless devices are actually being built on an annual basis. It doesn't really matter who you believe, which of the analysts, Forrester, Gartner, IDC, you pick it. I mean, that curve is pretty dramatic, with literally hundreds of millions of devices being added in the next few years. So our technology enables us to hyperextend battery life, existing batteries, because we are creating a power efficient wireless ability with existing protocols. And I'll tell you a little bit about how it works in a second. So smaller batteries, because you don't need one as large, lengthening the existing battery. Also, we don't have to do the standard engineering proposal where we actually shut the radio down, harvest some information, and then reconnect, send data, and then disconnect and shut down and hibernate for a while. We can just send the data continuously because we're not as concerned about the actual power consumption. It's a step towards sustainability, and we're very, very proud of that. Just to give you a little bit of a math, right? Wi-Fi is ubiquitous. I mean, it's in my home, your office, the mall, everywhere. A standard Wi-Fi, chip uses a certain amount of power and really doesn't last that long on battery life. There are technologies from a handful of semiconductor providers that enable technology called ultra low power Wi-Fi. And for the most part, that's the state of the art in the Wi-Fi domain. It's not yet as good as Bluetooth, but it's certainly state of the art for Wi-Fi. For example, one of those ultra low power Wi-Fi devices might be able to last 2/3 of a year on a standard, small coin cell battery. It's pretty good. If you do the exact comparison, same amount of data, same payload, same data rate, everything with the HaiLa technology on the same battery, we last 11.7 years. So a full order of magnitude better performance. And by the way, we're not done. We're just getting started. In our second generation chip, we will probably at least double that, if not triple that, going forward, which we're very excited about. So I think we're a step towards sustainability, and the power profile that we're talking about is in the microwatts, small microwatts, and we're getting into the nanowatt side. So we think we actually could combine our solution with energy harvesting technologies to make a completely battery-free IoT sensing system. So Charlotte mentioned passive backscatter. What is it? You use it and you've probably interacted with it all the time. It's not a new technology. It is a foundational technology that enables UHF RFID. So it's something that you've interacted with probably, doesn't matter where you are. I mean, those tags are available in the billions. If you'll allow me to just explain this quick animation here, to explain passive backscatter, we use the animation of Charlotte and I in the outdoors. Charlotte away from me, in some area where I kind of directionally know where she is, but I can't see her, it's dark. So I take my flashlight and I use the light energy of my flashlight that pointed at the island where Charlotte might be. The only thing that Charlotte has to actually signal me back is a simple mirror. And I capture the glint of the mirror's reflection, and she's able to modulate that mirror just enough so I know she's okay. This is the principle behind passive backscatter. Our system essentially takes standard Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi that's in your office, the Wi-Fi that's in your home. We make no changes to Wi-Fi whatsoever. But what we do is we've developed our own system, and here's one of our little prototypes that we ship to various different partners around the world. They've been in test since December of last year. It captures the energy of the Wi-Fi, the electromagnetic energy, and uses that as a data path by reflecting that energy on an alternate Wi-Fi channel. But in doing so, it adds modulation to the reflection that creates a data path from our little device to the receiving side. This technology is not just applicable for Wi-Fi. It can be adapted to many radio protocols. Charlotte chose Wi-Fi first. I'd do the same if I was in charge. We can adapt it to Bluetooth, KNX, LoRaWAN, licensed spectrum cellular, a whole host of them. So we're excited to start here with Bluetooth and showcase what power efficiency we can actually accomplish. So this is where we are today. We have essentially that little device that I just showed you. It is our own reference design, our own chip. This is our first generation chip. And we are still in the process of working towards the second generation chip. But as Charlotte mentioned, it's connected to a simple Bosch SPI connected sensor, and it could connect to any sensor you want. It has a standards-based interface. Our next generation chip will also support I2C simultaneously. So markets for us, where we started with MedTech because that's Charlotte's passion, but where we see opportunities right now is with the automation groups like home automation, building automation, industrial automation. All of those have shown tremendous interest in finding a way in which to expand their battery life on wireless devices that they are putting into buildings, into homes, into industry. We've had interest from companies that make wearables in the consumer electronics space, companies that are doing television remotes for large consumer electronics. We've had interest as well in the smart transportation and automotive communities. So we're hoping that directionally there may be opportunities with the Taiwan companies that may actually be in any one of these individual markets that might see some interest in a power efficient RF solution for their particular products. I'll give you a quick example of one of the ones that we're actively working on. This one is a smart thermostat. You may have seen these technologies in the past. Here in Canada, we have a very successful company called Ecobee that makes a smart thermostat that many of us have. Some of you may be familiar with Google's Nest devices as well, similarly, right? Those devices to be essentially efficient in making sure that the comfort level is what people expect in their homes. They come with various different sensors. So it's not just the sensor on the wall, but there may be a sensor upstairs, downstairs, in specific rooms, so you can reach a certain efficiency and a certain comfort level in each home. Those are battery-powered sensors. Many of those companies are also mixing their products with other types of offerings like security. In our case, the sensors would be powered, from a connectivity perspective by HaiLa's solution, and the sensor information would be gathered by that actual smart thermostat on the wall. So that's a quick introduction to HaiLa. We would love to entertain any questions, Charlotte, myself, that you may have, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
针对 HaiLa 的技术，目前在市场上面最有潜力的应用，我们看到的是在智慧建筑以及智能家居的部分。它的解决方案其实也可以放在医疗保健，还有智慧城市以及农业跟其他的行业。刚才 Derek 也有提到是在 automation 的部分，所以如果有兴趣针对 HaiLa 的技术有进一步讨论资金需求的可能性，欢迎可以直接reach out 到Charlotte 或者是 Derek 的信箱。那我们接下来的话，要跟各位介绍另外一间公司，它已经 move on 从 POC 的阶段进到了大量可以生产的规模。CleanSlate 目前在 Garage Plus 的 Pavilion 里头，你们也可以看到实体这个器材在现场做 demo。他们同时也 sponsor 了今天 Computex 的 event， 所以您看到的智慧的消毒解决方案，其实就是来自我们加拿大的 CleanSlate， 它是透过 UVC 的紫光力量来让我们可以进行安心的今天的 trade show 还有 conference 的讨论。我想我就简单介绍到这边，我们直接来听听看 CleanSlate 的介绍。
My name is Scott Mason. I'm one of the co-founders of CleanSlate UV. And this morning with my colleague Rochelle, we're really excited to introduce our award-winning sanitizer to you. So, who are we? Well, we're CleanSlate UV. We design and manufacture products for rapidly disinfecting mobile devices. We would say that we're a biosafety company, and I would say that we enable the safe use of mobile devices in facilities. So what does that all mean? Well, at least in a hospital, 1 in 4 devices are contaminated with a pathogenic bacteria. Outside of a hospital, these devices are just as dirty, but there are no quick and accessible means to disinfect mobile devices. At CleanSlate UV, we would say that a mobile phone is the third hand that we never wash. In short, there are dirty electronics present in the world, and our product quickly and effectively disinfects them. Our approach to dealing with this issue is to disinfect those items with UVC light. So in effect, when you think of CleanSlate UV, you can think of it as a box that you place items inside of, and it rapidly disinfects them in just 20 seconds using UVC light to a hospital-grade level. Now, just a little bit about our history. We started 8 years ago, back in 2014, and my business partners and I were looking for a high-impact application for a novel UVC technology that we were working on. Next to our university was a hospital called Kingston General Hospital, and there we interviewed physicians, nurses, and staff to find out what items they were most concerned about coming into the facility, and most importantly, what departments were of the greatest concern. So they emphatically told us that NICUs, neonatal intensive care units, were in need of a solution for the various devices that were being brought in by visitors, parents, and staff, primarily because the babies housed in NICUs are immunocompromised and at the greatest risk of infection. And essentially, this was the birth of CleanSlate. We started out as a niche neonatal intensive care unit product. We focused on disinfecting mobile devices going into and out of the NICU. So CleanSlate came as a result to create a product that was fast and easy to use, that wouldn't impact the workflow of doctors and nurses, but would kill the germs that the staff were most concerned about. CRE, C. difficile, or VRE, C. difficile, MRSA, superbugs, like really, really tough to kill pathogens. And from 2014 to 2018, we actually spent most of that time simply commercializing the technology. It didn't really become widely available until 2018. And I love this graph because it shows not only our journey as a company, but how a little known pathogen called COVID-19 had a sizable impact on this. And you may have heard of that pathogen. So prior to 2020, we had roughly 200 of our machines in the world. And after the advent of COVID, we went from having 200 units in the world to over 2,000. And today, we have over 2,500 units in 13 countries. I actually think the number is pushing 3,000 now. And we're operating in food processing facilities, transportation, retail, healthcare. and a whole litany of organizations trust us to enable the safe use of mobile devices. So now I'm going to turn it over to Rochelle to speak a little bit more about the product.
As Scott mentioned, our solution is designed to be fast, safe, and effective. It's really built to be user-friendly, intuitive to use. You simply pop in your hard, non-porous devices in the front tray that you see here, close the lid. It initiates a quick 20-second cycle. And during that 20-second cycle, we do encourage our users to sanitize their hands while they're waiting, and the machine even prompts you to do this as well. Once the 20-second cycle is finished, we have a touch-free device retrieval feature whereby the lid automatically opens, so it ensures that your clean hands are touching clean phones at the end of each cycle. And now every unit available does come with the following components. We do provide a very large inviting signage that you see here, as well as flexible stand accessory to be able to move the unit around wherever it may need to be. And as well, we've integrated hand hygiene stations next to our unit here to really ensure that people are sanitizing their hands. And what truly sets us apart is the intelligent software and IoT connectivity of each of our devices. We are a smart sanitizer, and we're able to allow users to capture usage, data, and analytics around each device. And ultimately, we have our full enterprise offering that is all really connected to do one mission. We call it pillars of our enterprise offering. We've introduced, our flagship product that's been in the market since 2018, which is our countertop UVC sanitizer that enables high volume, high traffic areas. We have a versatile version of our product set to be commercialized by the end of this year for smaller patient care areas, all while both connecting to really help enable hand hygiene as well. And again, really being able to provide that intelligent feature that really connects all of these together to make sure that everything is well audited, and we provide the best data analytics to provide the best support as possible. And with that, we really look beyond just device disinfection, but also the impact that we've made to hospital facilities. We've become the primary mode of mobile disinfection in healthcare, outcompeting chemical wipes. In fact, we've been able to save time and money for a lot of hospital facilities because of our solution. And as well, this has allowed us to reduce waste and prevent the amount of chemical wipes that do end up in landfill. Now, we've heard from customers that CleanSlate has helped them boost hand hygiene. And in fact, we've actually done a study this past year with a smart hospital in Toronto that showed that just by the presence of a CleanSlate in an area has able to increase hand hygiene behaviors by 50 to 110%. That is incredible. Knowing the fact that hand hygiene has a direct correlation to HAIs in healthcare really speaks volumes as to the impact of CleanSlate beyond just cleaning devices. And ultimately, the pandemic has really shown us that the problem of infection prevention control goes beyond healthcare. And we've really seen this impact in corporate offices, international airports like Toronto Pearson Airport, retail, warehouses. Really, as Scott mentioned earlier, your mobile device is the third hand you never wash. And this is something that is becoming more and more prominent in a lot of workflows and everyday things that we do. For example, in Toronto Pearson Airport, we have a full deployment there in all of their terminals, over 30 units, whereby staff and passengers can sanitize their mobile devices. And I'm proud to say that we were a part of their Healthy Airport initiative, helping them win numerous awards for safety and cleanliness of their airports. And now that's really our story, our journey, and our solution. But we know the problem exists globally, and especially here in Taiwan as well. And I'm sure many of you here in the call right now are greatly affected by the pandemic and with the rising cases that we've been closely watching here as well. In fact, recent studies have actually shown the Omicron variant survives up to 2 times longer on surfaces which really places the emphasis that we need to do a lot more due diligence, a lot more work on how do we, basically stop the spread of these infections on mobile devices that we carry each and every day, right? So, last time I saw there was an average of over 5,000 daily cases here in Taiwan. So it really not only affects us here in Canada, but it's really a global problem. We're not out of the woods yet in the pandemic, so we still really need to bring extra focus in helping to stop the spread as much as we can. But I know many of you might be thinking, well, COVID is, it'll pass. But I do like to also emphasize that as COVID-19 is on the top of our minds now, infection is unfortunately here to stay, right? We shouldn't forget that hospital-acquired infections, or HAIs, is an ongoing problem globally and also here in Taiwan. And recently there was actually a study released a couple of days ago that showed rates of HAIs has actually increased during the pandemic. And locally, I'm sure in Taiwan, this has impacted businesses and society at the economical level. And just some studies here, this was an 8-year study conducted showing that, HAIs are costing healthcare systems in Taiwan over $13 million per year in excess costs because of this big issue. And so this is avoidable and preventable. And so, we want to do every effort that we can to help fight this problem. And so we look into the market in Taiwan and really seeing how can we help, right? So we've been operating a really large market successfully here in North America for the past 7 years, as Scott mentioned, really deployed in a lot of hospital and healthcare systems. And we've already successfully partnered with a distribution partner, in Hong Kong. So we've already gotten our presence here in Asia, but we want to expand that into Taiwan market. And based on our growth trajectory and with the national medical institutions in Taiwan, we believe we can penetrate, 20% of hospitals and 5% of clinics and nursing institutions within the next couple of years.
So we want to thank you very much for listening. We should mention our diversified supply chain also has production in Taiwan. So we're manufacturing in Taiwan. We're hoping to sell there as well. We're seeking distributors to assist us in bringing this technology to the Taiwanese market. And we're also seeking investors interested in participating in our growth story. So happy to take any questions you may have. And thank you very much for listening.
CleanSlate 的技术其实目前在 Garage Plus 的 Pavilion， 大家也可以去玩玩看，看一下这个设备目前最直觉的技术到底是长什么样子。已经获得了世界在各个主要的运输场所以及5星级饭店使用。那他们目前是希望能够在台湾寻找拓销市场通路的伙伴以及资金。那有兴趣的话，欢迎直接跟厂商进行联系，或者是会后跟我们联络。接下来我们想要跟大家介绍的是 Invision AI。Invision AI 是加拿大一间非常有成长潜力的公司，他们是透过摄像镜头或者是各种感测器去解释周围的环境，而且是不需要透过硬体的连接就可以达到这样子的运算技术。他们的产品已经开发，而且是直接有部署在智慧城市的一些专案应用。自动铁路跟道路的产品也已经在市面上可以看到有一些时机，所以我们接下来就听听看 Invision AI 能够为我们带来什么样子的新创科技。
Good morning, everyone. My name is Arthur, and I'm the head of sales and business development at Invision AI. Our mission is to build an AI platform for computer vision. So what do? We enable edge devices like cameras, LiDAR, or other sensors to analyze the environment around them without relying on the cloud or costly hardware. So today, organizations want insight from the billions of camera and sensors being deployed. Today, we count about 20 billion vision sensors. And what I mean by vision sensors is all the cameras that are deployed in public spaces, in the street, in port, airport, or even in your car. And the big problem is that this organization, it's not easy for them to get the insight of this data. and a solution is AI, and this is what I'm going to show you now. So in today's context, conventional AI can answer this problem, but it doesn't scale. And I'm going to tell you why. Conventional AI uses deep learning neural network that requires lots of computer power. And for that, it requires to be processed on the cloud. But imagine that you have your edge sensors and that you have to send billions and billions of images through the bandwidth to the cloud server. This is really expensive. And another problem with the cloud is data privacy issues. Do you want your data to be stored somewhere in a data center that belongs to a corporation? So you can still process locally on device with this type of system. But again, it requires lots of computer power, and you will have to invest in costly hardware. And finally, this conventional AI is really limited in terms of insight that leads to high customizations. At Invision AI, we have found the best AI solution that keep both privacy and scalability. We have built a full-stack solution, ultra-efficient neural network that runs on device, at the edge, on low power. So our system is on-site and run in real time. We use collaborative sensors. So what I mean by collaborative sensors is, for example, let's say you have 3 cameras deployed on the street intersections, and one camera detects a blue car. Then this camera will share the same memory with the 2 other cameras. So basically, if one camera detects something, they will all share together the same detection, which is the blue car. And finally, and this is something unique to Invision AI, we georeference object. So what I mean by with georeference object, we can detect an object in a 3-dimensional environment, and from there we can provide a lot of different insights, like the speed of the car, for example, the size or the volume or distance, and this helps us to reduce the customizations. And I will show more in a few slides when I'll show you the product lines. So our platform can be applied to different channels and use cases. Our focus is smart transportation and smart infrastructure. We have our approach and model is to build a full stack solution, resolving high value problem end to end. And in the next slide, I will show you our product lines around smart cities, autonomous rail, and smart roads. So our first channel is the autonomous rail. So today we've been working for 3 years now with Thales and Metrolinx to develop a forward collision warning system. So Thales is one of the largest French system integrator, and Metrolinx is one of the largest rail operator in North America. So as I speak, I will play the video. So what you can see here is a mobile camera that is mounted on the top of the train, combined with a LiDAR. And as the train moves, we can detect people, car, or animals. So basically any obstacles that can cross the rail tracks. And something that is unique to us is this georeference. So this is what you can see now on your top right. So basically, the detection that we call the metadata are placed in a digital twin. And this is the 3-dimensional space. We can provide you the real GPS coordinate of the car. We can tell you how far the car are from the train, what are the speed, etc. Then we have another solution that is complementary to the first one, and it's the intersections and public space monitoring. So in the first case, you can see crossing level intersections where a road and a rail intercept. Sometimes the light or the crossing level are not working, and you may have some collision or accident. So to prevent that, we can provide a warning message to the driver of the train so that there is no accident. And as you can see on the video, we provide the GPS coordinate of the car. Yeah, it's here now. You can see the coordinate, the GPS, the size, and the speed of the car. And this is 3D detection that we do here. And you have one camera fixed, and all the metadata are put on the digital twin, which is like your map in real time. Another deployment that we have is with the city of Montreal. So we've been asked to count the people in the public space, which is Quartier des Spectacles, and to also calculate the distance between people for social distancing. So on your left, you have our camera deployed, and on your right, you have the top view. And what you can see on the top view is first dots that represent the people. Then you have the colors that represent how far they are from each other. So if it's green, it means they are like more than 2 meters apart. If it's orange or red, it means that they are less than 2 meters apart. And finally, you can see the lines. This represents the trajectories. And what it provides you as an information is basically what was the previous location of the people? What is the current position of the people? And then where are the people going? Another deployment that we have these days is in Greece. So we have deployed 100 cameras on each intersection of a highway for 2 reasons. The first one is to understand the behaviors of the drivers. Do we have some anomalies? Do they stop on the highway? Do they drive in the wrong side? But also to optimize the highway lighting. So let's say by night, when you have less traffic, they can adjust the lighting. And this was with Olympia Odos. And finally, we've been working with LG CNS. They were to test our system to detect people and cars. And that was a big success story. And finally, our last solution is our vehicle occupancy detection system. And the purpose of this solution is to enhance traffic enforcement. So what we do, we count people in cars while the cars are moving at a highway speed. And this is for high occupancy lanes and carpooling. Today, we have deployed a few units with Transurban. Transurban is a big road operator from Australia, and they have operation in the US. We have deployed last year a few units in Washington, DC. We have also deployed a few units in Israel with our partner YSB. And today, and this month, we have deployed a few units on the 407 highway in Ontario. So what are we looking in terms of partnership goals for the Taiwanese market? So we would like to engage and collaborate with potential partners like ODM or industrial PC. And what I have in mind is working on smart manufacturing, how to improve manufacturing capabilities, or look for packaging, how we can provide to the sales channel a package with the hardware and the software. We can also discuss with public and private road operator and look for smart highway lighting. We can also work with public Department of Transportation and look for traffic management system, like how to get real-time location and speed of the vehicle, but also work with railway operator, airports, malls, and large retail stores. We are also really interested to work with telecoms operator and system integrators. That's part of our model to help us to deploy and maintain our multiple collaborative system. And for the application, we're thinking about smart factory, smart mobility, smart retail, or smart manufacturing. So I would like to thank you, all of you. 很高兴为大家介绍 Invision AI， 感谢您的参与。Thank you, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me by email or phone.
Invision AI 他们目前正在寻找的商业伙伴，就像他刚才提到的，那更多的实际应用在智慧运输跟交通上面，是我们台湾地区其实产业可以考虑跟他们合作的地方。当然，同时 Invision AI 也希望能够寻找资金的挹注伙伴。好，他们最重要的一点特色是在于地理定位、追踪跟感测器的整合。那这个部分，其实就是有别于现有一些坊间的相同的技术，在竞争者的分析上头是非常突出的一个特点，跟大家分享。那我们接下来要介绍另外一间 AI 的应用公司是 Pleora。Pleora 其实已经成立将近20年，它不是一个典型的新创公司，但是他们在人工智慧跟感测器的连接应用，透过也是相机视觉的运算技术，放在智慧制造还有瑕疵品的检测上头，应用已经有蛮多的布局。那希望能够为工业自动化跟医学成像、国防安全等项目有更多的开发机会。Pleora 其实在台湾也有团队，那团队今天也在现场。如果会后有兴趣想要跟他们多聊聊的话，欢迎到 Garage Plus 的booth。今天 Brian 有在，那可以跟大家再做更多仔细的介绍。我们先简单的听一下 Jonathan 介绍 Pleora。
My name is Jonathan from Pleora Technologies. I'm the president at Pleora, and our mission is around simplifying AI and machine vision. So, just a bit of background about our company. So, our company was founded in 2000, and our vision was really to simplify real-time video transport. And what that meant is, over the years, we led the development of global vision standards in machine vision. So if you're familiar with GigiVision, Pleora is the founding member of that standard. So we are recognized in the industry for that protocol. We've worked on other protocols like USB 3 vision for industrial automation and cameras. So we provide hardware and software solutions designed for industrial automation industries, medical sectors, medical X-ray panels, security and defense applications. And we also have newer AI solutions around solutions for manufacturing and consumer, food and beverage, parts manufacturing, and electronics. And today, what we're looking for in this presentation is to look for partners in OEMs and device manufacturers looking to build cameras, industrial PCs for vision applications, manufacturers seeking to reduce quality escapes that impact product quality, cost, and brand reputation. We're also looking for technology partners with complementary solutions, including resellers with manufacturing expertise, and system and solution integrators interested in expanding their portfolio with simple AI solutions for manual and automated inspection applications. So if that fits one of your criteria, hopefully you'll pay attention for the rest of the presentation. One of the software packages that we provide in the machine vision space is what we call our eBus software development kit. It is for camera and sensor integrations and is a quite well-known library in the industry for machine vision applications. Lots of camera vendors will license that technology, as well as industrial PC vendors. And using the software package, it gives you automatic connectivity to the different camera devices out there for your applications. So with a single library, you can connect to any standards compliant device across multiple platforms, Windows, Linux, embedded Mac. And you can also create and build your own cameras. So if you're looking to build your own 3D cameras, smart cameras, you can use this library to create those types of devices. The other part of our portfolio is really around the mission to make AI easier for manufacturers. And when we talk about AI for manufacturers, it's around how do you deploy AI without changing infrastructure? How do you reuse existing cameras? How do you upgrade existing systems? The other challenge that we see with manufacturers is AI development and training is complicated. Lots of labeling, annotation requires a lot of time just to set that up. So what we've developed as part of this portfolio is a software platform that allows you to provide no-code app development with prepackaged inspection apps in AI to let anyone design their own AI applications. The other part is really making sure that AI will help in terms of ensuring end-to-end quality. So we want to make it easy to train, easy to deploy, and really benefit manufacturers in adding decision support and data insight for inspection and assembly tasks. So some examples of apps for manufacturers, and these are just things that we pre-bundle, and you have things like inspection apps where just with a single image, you can immediately check what is good and bad. And using the human operator in terms of analysis of what is good or bad, our model learns over time, or the software learns over time, the preferences of the user. So it just gets better over time to improve the inspection. Other types of apps available in our platform, tracking and reporting apps. So really making sure that you are tracking products within your factory, being able to add some data, metadata to your products, and generate reports in terms of analytics of what's happening with your products, keeping records of your products. And like I mentioned, with our no-code platform, there are more apps that you can also create with our software that are ready to deploy for manufacturers across their production lines. So we look at AI in terms of decision support and how it makes humans more consistent and reliable. So the ability to highlight product differences. So we're talking about in operations for a factory, in process, incoming, final inspection steps, where there's a lot of human activity and very error-prone tasks, and these apps will help them do a better job to make their decision. And like I mentioned, the platform requires only just one good image to start, and over time, transparently learns to get better and improve the results of the system. And there's no programming skills, consulting, or system integration required. It's really a turnkey solution that's ready to go and up and running. And the advantage over manual processes, right, is the ability to gain valuable insight in terms of your operations, what's good, what's bad, reporting capabilities, product images, number of defects, operator notes, and you combine all that for better analytics in your factory. Other ways that we've deployed our solutions in manufacturing plants, and this is more on kind of the production line. Again, you can build your apps with our platform, transfer that onto edge devices. So Pleora also provides some edge devices, but we also partner with other industrial PC and edge manufacturers to load our software on their devices. You connect the camera, and how this works is we will connect with the camera, intercept the video, process it, and then display the results to the user, whether it's a pass or a fail. So with our approach, we can also upgrade existing inspection systems as well to add AI capabilities to improve their inspections. So why do leading brands choose Pleora? They want to reduce errors that result in poor quality, waste, costly secondary screening. They want to maintain brand standards and meet safety and compliance requirements. They want to inspect challenging materials, which are more suitable applications for AI technology, or just simply automate error-prone human inspection and add more traceability at key points in your manufacturing process. And really our mission is around simplifying that AI experience for these different industries in terms of the manufacturing space. So I'll finish off with just a quick demo of what you can do with our platform here. So like I said, it's basically apps for manufacturing, you can go in, start an inspection. This is an example here of PCB electronics inspection. You enter your operator name, the product ID. You place your product in there. And then we just click on the capture image here. And it will automatically align everything, highlight any deviations that it finds to the operator. And I just simply click on accept or reject, whether it is an acceptable difference. And we just go and navigate through that. Very simple, go through each difference. And then we keep going until we find an error here where you can see a component's been inversed here, and we can reject that. So as I'm going through accept reject, it's actually learning what's good and what's bad. So here you have an example of a bad component in there, and we'll just reject that as another defect. And then here, same thing. And you go through that process. And then once we reach near the end here, what we can do is behind the scenes start training an AI model. And the AI, like I say, will tell you what is good and what is bad. And this is just an example. After using the system for a while, you can see that with the software, it will provide with the AI engine the recommendations on what is good and what is bad. So you can see here, the AI thinks this is a reject. The AI thinks this is an accept. And then once you're done there, you really just click on generate report, and that will generate a report so that you have that full traceability in your system. So we click on the generate report icon, you get a full report that will list the deviations. And that could be your report for going to rework or to notify people of what changes need to be made. So again, the advantage of digitization and bringing your manual process to a digital process, you get that full traceability. And that's it for the presentation. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that.
我想 Pleora 最重要的一点，大家刚才应该都有看到，其实只要透过一张图像就可以进行他们的视觉检测，是相对来说在市面上面比较少看到的创新应用。那诚如刚才提到的 Pleora 在台湾也有团队 ，Brian 也在现场。如果有兴趣的话，欢迎会后可以直接 reach out 到Brian 这边讨论一下你们是否有可能有合作的商机。那接下来我们进行到下一间公司 Motion Gestures， 跟大家介绍一个比较不一样的手势的辨识软体。Motion Gesture 其实在日本、韩国、德国跟美国都已经有蛮多的市场的回响。那我们也希望能够透过这样子 AI/ML 的技术，带给台湾看看如何透过手势去追踪，然后希望能够从中找到更多潜在的合作客户伙伴以及资金的挹注。Chris 接下来会将给大家带来一段 demo。
Pleasure and an honor to be here tonight. Thank you so much. My name is Chris Payne. I'm the Global Director of Business Development with Motion Gestures. We have a nice tagline which says we're the next wave of interaction. And what we offer is we offer sophisticated, natural, and intuitive hand tracking and gesture recognition technology for contactless interactions. For an image for you, at this point, I might point to the movie Minority Report, where we remember Tom Cruise was standing in front of some screens with some gloves on, moving images around in the Steven Spielberg movie of 2002, which depicted in 2054 that we would have that technology available to us. Well, here we are in 2022. There is no need for gloves. I'm sorry, Tom Cruise isn't here, but I am instead. And we are fully capable of doing contactless interactions through camera vision. So a little bit about the company here, just to give a little bit of background. We were founded in 2017. Our founders came from natural speech recognition technology, which is a natural evolution to get to gesture recognition technology. And as they like to say, we communicate with our mouths, but we work with our hands. And so gesture recognition, with its expected exponential growth over the next 10 years, was a good bet for them to go to. And they launched their first commercial software development kit in fall of 2020. We're currently in our 6th iteration of that, which I will show you live tonight. Today. It's the evening here in New York. So it's our 6th iteration in about 18 months. So we're quite aggressive about our research and development and deploying latest technologies and up-to-date technologies. We're headquartered in Kitchener. We have offices throughout the world in USA, Europe, Japan, Korea, and China. Currently, we are actively engaged with OEMs in all of those areas, and we have partnerships in Germany, also in Korea, Japan, and as I said, in China, with offices in London, here in New York, as well as in Silicon Valley in California. Now, our core competency is deep learning. It's a deep tech. We're a deep tech company. This is AI on the edge. It's designed to be an embedded software. We are experts in computer vision and also in sensor fusion. And we offer a software development kit that I will show you in just a second. But we also do a lot of custom work for gesture development, camera support, platform support, and technology development with new features and new sensors. So a quick snapshot of what the technology looks like. It's a 21 joint-based skeletal hand model structure, which provides very, very accurate coordinates, real-time coordinates of the hand at all times. It's built on proprietary, of course, AI and machine learning to enable the world's most accurate camera-based hand tracking and gesture recognition software. So it is customizable. It's fully customizable. We can detect any hand movement or any hand gesture. That's quite a large statement, but we do say it. The technology is that advanced. We are completely platform agnostic, so we will work with any hardware, processor, or operating system. It's scalable, so it can be used with low computational requirements, CPU only, or with hardware acceleration. It's just about 100% accurate. We can't say 100 because of science, but we can say squiggle, 100% accurate. Positional coordinates are provided in real time, and gestures are provided in real time. And we've lowered the development costs by 10x, requiring for custom gesture development, no coding or data collection is required. And because we are platform agnostic, hardware agnostic, processing and operating system agnostic, we're also application agnostic, which means we apply to many different industries and many different use cases. So this is a quick snapshot of what I'm going to show you in a few minutes. It's, as I said, it's a joint-based skeletal hand model. 21 joints are tracked in each hand. Real-time positional coordinates are provided, and it can support single or multiple hands. Our sample gestures that we show in the SDK, which, by the way, is a teaser because our core work is developing custom gestures for customers and clients. The sample gestures are, I'm going to show you our static, dynamic, trigger, and drawing gestures. We support Windows, Linux, and Android operating systems. And as I said, the deployment architecture can be CPU only or CPU with hardware accelerators. And it'll work as a reference with something as low as a Raspberry Pi 3. So it can be very lightweight, very advanced, and you can use all the features and functions that come with the SDK if need be. It's designed to work with all camera types, RGB, NIR, and depth. And the camera speed is a particular note because in our 6th generation, we are achieving static gestures with 30 frames per second or less, and even dynamic gestures with 30 frames per second or less, which is quite a feat in itself, because when you consider a hand moving in front of a camera at speed, to track it at 30 frames per second, to understand what the hand is doing is quite a feat in itself. We support front-facing camera position for the SDK, but we also are subject to the field of vision, pixels per square inch, of the camera, because we, of course, hardware agnostic, but it'll work at 10 to 12 feet with a standard webcam that I will demonstrate for you this morning. Apologies. I've got to get my time zone right. So sector engagements. Here's a sample of some of the current sectors that we're talking to, and that goes from anywhere from advertising, digital out of home, to automotive, which is a big segment for us. Digital signage, elevators, hospitality, healthcare, AR. Of course, that includes smart glasses, transportation, and of course, video games. So hand tracking and gesture recognition applies to a number of different industries, and being as flexible as we are and customizable as the technology is, it does get us into a lot of conversations. So for partnerships in Taiwan, what we're looking for is sort of two sets of partners, if you like. We're looking for OEMs who can use our tech in their products and companies that can serve as local representatives and market our technology. We're also looking for strategic investment from OEMs who can productize and distribute and support our technology, and that makes sense. But we're also looking for financial investment from VCs who have deep experience helping small businesses build their businesses in Taiwan. And we're also currently actively engaged with OEMs in Japan, China, and Korea. So it's quite natural for us to look for partners in Taiwan on account of its technology-based advanced economy. And of course, we can arrange for local language support with our partners in China. So what I'm going to do is a live demonstration of the technology I've just been talking about. And we'll just take a quick look at it. So gesture recognition is built on top of hand tracking. And hand tracking is the ability to track a hand as soon as it comes into view. As you can see, as soon as I pick my hand up, the hand is detected. Once it's detected, we can track it. And you can see how sophisticated and accurate this is as I move my hand around the screen. Also, as I rotate my fingers and hands and how accurately that joint skeletal tracks my hands. Now, there's also some information supplied inside of the bounding box that tracks my hand. There is open palm up, there is right hand front, left hand front above the bounding box and below. Each hand is assigned an ID. There is a palm size here, so even though I'm on a 2D camera and these gestures are performed in 2D, there is some depth information coming from this that we are able to calculate even on a 2D camera. So technologically, in that sense, it's quite a feat. And palm size increases or decreases. And also angle is tracked with hand tracking. So I place large importance on hand tracking because we talk about it in a brand market way as it's gesture recognition. But actually, Tom Cruise in that movie was doing 80% hand tracking because he was moving things around a screen. When he grabbed something and moved it to a recycling bin, he was gesturing. He was using a gesture to grab. Before we move beyond hand tracking to the first static gestures I mentioned in my presentation, I'm going to show you two cool things that happen. This hand is assigned an ID 0. This hand is assigned ID 1. When I cross them, the IDs are retained. Not only are they retained, but when I cross them, there is no occlusion, meaning there is no confusion with the technology when I put one hand in front of the other. So that is one thing worth mentioning. And I see the questions coming up. So I won't look at those. I'll look back at the camera and look at you. So let's go through some of the gestures. Let's look at static gestures quickly to see how quickly these are tracked. I'll do those again for you. You can see how quickly, no matter where I put my fingers or however I perform the gesture, even if I perform an OK gesture, even slightly rotating this, the technology is not fooled. And so for static gestures, we find this is very, very quick. Even at 24 frames per second on a standard webcam, it's being able to track all my static gestures. I'm going to drop my hand right now and just move to one last static gesture that we do, which is a zoom gesture, which we can show you moves in a calibrated way. You can imagine using this for a menu, for a wayfinder in a mall, perhaps, when you need to see more detail. Most notably, let's say, a navigation system in a car. Perhaps you need to see more detail on the map. You would use the zoom gesture. Now, quickly before I move to dynamic gestures, you see that there is 4 directions: pointing up, pointing left, pointing right, and pointing down. With our 6th iteration or generation of our SDK, we're able to point at the camera. We're able to use a pointing gesture, which someone might use to turn something on. Perhaps a TV will be turned on this way in the very near future. Instead of using a remote control, you can point at it and it will turn on. But of course, because you can point, you can also use the V. This is our sample inside of the SDK. You could even use a fist if you like. The fist will go forward and it will also go up and multi-directional. So there are a lot of advantages in using static gestures. But we also do dynamic gestures. And we also look at a dynamic zoom gesture where you're able to just simply not calibrate the zoom here, but you're also able to zoom in just at perhaps a 15%. And now because it's dynamic, I can move my hand around and I get more flexibility. And traditionally, this requires more frames per second, more computational requirements. But now we're able to do these dynamic gestures, very sophisticated, very intuitive gestures with lower frame per second. Of course, we all swipe. We swipe on our iPads and phones all day to get through content, and we're able to swipe left, we're able to swipe right, we're able to swipe up, and we're able to swipe down. We can even continuously swipe left, and no return path is detected. Not only that, we can also tap. And I want to mention again, this is on the Z dimension. There's no Z information coming through the camera to me. I'm on only X and Y axes. But there is Z assumption here, and it is recognizing my tapping finger to select something on the screen. Lastly, two more. A trigger gesture. Open palm, close, open palm allows me to show you how accurate the technology is in tracking my finger around the screen. I'm able to do this crazy pattern. You see it doesn't lose it. But because we can do that, we can also provide some numbers, perhaps a number 8. You might use this to turn your thermostat up to number 8. Or even listen to your favorite Pink Floyd song at volume 8. Perhaps you want to send an email. Well, you could send an email in a contactless interaction fashion, doing it that way. So we've gone through hand tracking, statics, dynamics, trigger, and drawing. I'm going to try one more video.
因为时间的关系，所以我们就先简单到这边。帮大家做一下总结。其实 motion gesture 它就是透过突破的 AI 技术，去让准确的辨识提高到100%的程度，减少开发的时间以及成本。那所有的手势不用担心位置，也不用分相机，它可以实现零接触的互动。这个软体可以安装在普通的处理器以及相机，没有需要任何的硬体加速，都可以使用。就算是普通的摄影机也可以。那我想 Motion Gesture 他们目前是希望能够在台湾寻找资金合作，还有商业合作的伙伴，希望能够在会后有机会的话，也可以跟各位产业界的先进多多交流。欢迎直接reach out 到那个 Chris 的 email 信箱，或者是跟我们 Trade Office 联络，我们也可以帮您做介绍。那接下来介绍下一家加拿大的公司是 WeavAir。WeavAir 目前在 Garage Plus 的 booth 也有那个 founder 本人 Natalia 在现场，可以跟大家做互动。如果会后有兴趣的话，也可以欢迎您到这个 booth 跟他们做交流。WeavAir 主要是透过联网的感测器去提供一套商业智能的解决方案。目前可以实现95%的准确率，然后透过20种不同的指标去量测。比如说空污、空气品质，还有降低 COVID 的传播感染。我想我们就直接听 Natalia 介绍。
So my name is Natalia. I am a co-founder and CEO of WeavAir. WeavAir is a company that provides proactive insights to make spaces healthier and more sustainable at scale. When we look at our buildings and their operation, it is very critical to fill this huge gap that we have been finding. It's critical to ensure the health, comfort, and well-being and safety of people in spaces, especially right now as we are still fighting the effects of the pandemic. And it's also very critical to achieve the ESG goals in terms of making spaces more energy efficient and also to improve the way that they're operating to save cost and reduce failures. It's one of the biggest untapped opportunities right now, as we have been hearing from multiple customers across the world, including in Singapore, South Korea, Europe, and North America. The current problem is very big for them. The cost of managing and maintaining the spaces, especially this kind of commercial, industrial, and logistics operation, is very expensive. There is a lot of time that is spent on this process, and also processes are reactive and not predictive, which is a problem. Me and my team spent over 10 years building different solutions to help solve this problem using IoT sensor networks and AI to understand how the spaces are being managed, their air quality, and how can we make them operate better. We have a great team with expertise in engineering, product development, sales, and as well as advisors with expertise in commercializations of technologies, ESG, and AI. WeavAir provides a holistic software and IoT solution to save energy, improve wellness, and reduce maintenance cost. The way we do this is we provide a software, predictive software that optimizes cost savings and increases trust of customers. The trust of customers in spaces, in buildings, in the transportation systems. Some of the core benefits of this solution includes ability to provide opportunity to save energy, so improving the way that the ventilation, lights, and other systems in the building operate, reducing the contamination and virus transmission, whether it is from the air or throughout the building, and also increase loyalty and trust using this information to effectively advertise the spaces to the tenants, to the hotel customers, and other stakeholders. And finally, also it's about reducing maintenance of operation costs. There is two components of this product solution. One is the decision support software, which enables faster and more accurate decisions in terms of managing spaces to save cost and establish trust for the tenants and occupants of the space, but also to reduce the cost of the operations. And the second one is a context-aware IoT sensor networks, which we deploy to provide high quality and accurate data collection on air contaminants, people flow, and air ventilation system maintenance. This enables us to provide a solution that provides both cost and energy savings, as well as reputation and trust benefits for the organizations, which results in ROI within 6 months and 10 to 20x ROI at full deployment within 18 months. There is many benefits this solution has and many aspects that we have in the portfolio, including enabling healthy spaces, enabling better maintenance and audit of spaces, as well as enabling more energy efficient operations of spaces, both quantifying and reducing energy use. So we have this software that collects many different sources of data and annotates this into the building itself and the map of the buildings. We have alerts that get generated from this information that the operators can use to quickly and seamlessly select which is the types of things that they need their attention the most. And also they can quickly troubleshoot any issues. So for example, if there is any contamination problem in a factory, if there is any gas leak in a commercial building, or if there is any effect on the energy consumption patterns has changed over time, it is something that they can do very quickly and efficiently. We also have worked with many hotels, including in Philippines and Singapore, to provide increased trust for the guests. And this is also applicable for commercial buildings that are being sold or rented out. We found that 10 to 15% increased trust of customers using the data that we generate. The solution has been in development for quite some time, including being tested in a number of different situations in terms of detecting more anomalies and enabling faster and more accurate decisions. And some of the ways that we provide this better optimization and better ROI is by optimizing many components of the system, like air filters, like optimizing damper and vents on the ventilation system, reducing wear and tear of the equipment, avoiding overheating or overcooling certain parts of the building, better thermal management, and better targeted efficiency upgrades. This allows for both sustainability benefits as well as health and safety benefits for the employees, guests, and staff. So on average, this return of investment is composed of maintenance cost savings, operation savings, and energy savings, as well as reduced sick leaves and improved well-being and productivity of people. And also it creates new revenue opportunities, especially if you're owner or manager of a building, and you would like to rent the space to the tenants. It's a big opportunity to use this information as part of the advertising of the space. What makes this solution unique is it's faster to implement, better in terms of accuracy, and also less expensive. The market opportunity for this is huge. We already have been working with asset managers, owners, OEMs, as well as tenants and consultants. Right now, we have operations in Canada, Singapore, South Korea, and Hong Kong, and we are also planning to expand our operations in Taiwan with partners and also through our this great program. We also have already projects completed and pilots completed, and right now are scaling up our deployments in different parts of the world. This is some of the organizations that are using our product and applying it in their operations. And we already have case studies to show the benefits of the solution. For example, this is a case study with a quarantine hotel where we installed these sensors and the software to be able to improve their ventilation system and achieve great results for them. We also received over 20 awards for this solution, applying this in various types of applications, and including Clean Energy Summit in Singapore, as well as Asian Development Bank and their projects in the Philippines. Right now, we are very excited to offer this solution and find great partners in Taiwan. We believe that, going forward, every space needs to be healthier and more sustainable. And we're looking for partners and collaborators in Taiwan. In particular, we are very interested to work with building owners and managers and developers to showcase the benefits of this solution. We are also very interested to work with system integrators, OEMs and ODMs, to implement new integrations. We are very interested to work with ventilation companies, filtration companies, companies who are developing solutions around industrial computer systems and also building automation system, as well as companies who are providing networking infrastructure and different types of wireless network infrastructure, because we heavily use it in all of our applications. We are also very interested to talk to interested investors and partners who might be keen to apply this and to explore this solution and its large impact in the market. Thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to working with you to make every spaces more efficient, healthy, and sustainable at scale. Thank you very much. 谢谢大家。
好，所以 WeavAir 目前人也在现场，所以他们的东西，它的数据其实是可以跟像通风控制系统 Lead、Well 还有 GRSB 的系统整合，所以也欢迎大家可以跟他们聊聊。他们人在现场，那希望能够寻找更多合作伙伴，不管是在制造或者是通路以及 POC 的专案上头。接下来我们要向大家介绍最后一家加拿大新创公司，这家 BUJI 怎么念 ？BujiBui 其实是一个相对还算初期、比较早期一点的公司。那他们开发了一套3D 的数据孪生资料系统。这个技术它可以应用在飞机、船舶或者是地面的车辆跟其对应的海港还有机场。简而言之，就是交通运输的枢纽，还有大型的油气探勘地点等等。稍后我们也会看到这个模组实际的 demo 情况。那我想我们就用 video 来介绍好了。
My name is Ken Shaka, and I'm from BujiBui, one of the co-founders. And with me is Nihar Karnik. He's our CTO. I function as the COO. So here's our presentation today. We're quite excited about this. So essentially, I'll introduce the company and the product a little bit, and then Nihar will take over, and he will go into depth, and he will talk for about 3 hours about the technology, if time permits. So essentially what we do is what we endeavor to do is make 3D digital twins more valuable by simply making them more accessible. The problem with, I'll just move this out of the way. The problem with big 3D digital twins is that the larger they get and more complex, the more inaccessible they become in the field. Simply because of bandwidth constraints and computing power out in the field. It's well and good to have a very fast computer in your office or in your facility, but if you are in a remote location, you just do not have that computing power at hand. Really, when 3D data models get so incredibly large that even the most powerful laptop or PC under your desk simply cannot crunch the numbers fast enough. So when you're dealing with a 3D digital twin or a digital twin, trade-offs are inevitable. Data is diluted, decisions are made, what can be accessible by the users out in the field, with regards to that digital twin. And the bad news falls to the IT or the project manager to tell the business owner, the ROI that you were expecting out of your digital twin is not going to be realized simply because we cannot take our massive manufacturing facility, for instance, or oil refinery out to the field and get it into the hands of the people who need that digital twin. We got around this problem. It's been a tradition to use brute computing force to crunch large data sets. We thought there was a different way, and Nihar will get into that. We overcame the bottleneck that 3D data present to low-powered devices without losing any detail in that digital twin. Furthermore, it's accessible on the same digital twin that could be viewed on a laptop, can be viewed on a cell phone, could be viewed on a tablet or a wearable virtual reality or augmented reality wearable device. So essentially, what we do is BujiBui also functions as a platform for commonly used technologies using digital twins. We can consolidate different file formats for the digital twin, IoT data, simulations, locational data, put it all into the model and still make it remote. It's a SaaS model. It's also an IaaS model. We can handle petabytes of data. We don't foresee the limitation there. We use high performance computing, and Nihar will get into that. It's cloud agnostic, format agnostic, and device agnostic. And that allows you to have very flexible deployment in remote areas of the world. We essentially separated the viewing device from the computing device, and that has been the stumbling block for digital twins. And I'm going to leave that part to Nihar because that's probably the most important and interesting and compelling part about BujiBui. Essentially, any sort of 3D data goes into an engine. We crunch the numbers, CAD, point cloud data, meshes, photogrammetry. We use AI in the case of point cloud to turn it into mesh data. The data is processed, it's enriched. We can add value to that data with IoT inputs, simulations, and SLAM, as I mentioned, and it all can be delivered to small, low-power devices. We take static data, dynamic data, put it all together into one cohesive, comprehensive model. That's how we are a platform. But as our true IP is taking that massive model and delivering it to a mobile device.
We decided not to reinvent technology, so we tried to use whatever was off the shelf available as much as possible. So for example, when we started this started working on this idea, we needed high performance computing, which wasn't available on the cloud as a product. Now it is, and you can go and get high performance computing clusters from Microsoft Azure, IBM, AWS, etc. At that time, we had to consider building all this on our own. But now that we have all this, we don't really worry about this. We use AI, machine learning. Again, back maybe 4 years ago, we would have had to come up with our own solution. Now, these things are available on a software as a service model. Simulation, we can add that. We generate lots of 3D mesh data. The input from all of this comes from LiDAR, 3D meshes, mesh generation algorithms, photogrammetry, etc. We use edge computing wherever possible to get around the problem of latency. And all of this put together, all of this is used to put together or create a very large, highly detailed 3D digital twin, or rather 3D model, which is so big that it's difficult to get it from point A to point B over wireless connections, which I'll come to later. And then all of this is delivered using web browser. In between is our own IP and technology enclosed in that orange box. And then when it's time to do the actual delivery of this data, you can use what is called beacon, VSAT, 3G, 4G, or 5G connection. So the logos that you're seeing over here, we actually talked to all these organizations, got them interested in this technology stack, and now we have some sort of a relationship or MOUs in place. So let's go to the next slide, please. So how does the data go from start to end? So we take raw data, which could come from LiDAR, photogrammetry, etc. We use AI machine learning to automate some of this processing. We aim to automate this as much as possible, hopefully 90% to 100%. And this would act as a service. So that's the first box that you're seeing on your left-hand side. So then there are other things like CAD data, BIM data, which are nicely arranged and you don't need a lot of processing on that. Then there is simulation data that comes from high-performance computing, such as CFD simulation, gas simulations, water simulations, finite element analysis, etc. This can be run on the actual 3D mesh that you have created. And then later on, we convert this into a format that is friendly for transmitting it over low bandwidth wireless. And then in addition to that, at the end, we can add IoT data, real-time IoT data, which comes into, and then we can mash it with the actual 3D data. So 3D data, non-3D data combined together, you get the actual 3D digital twin. So let's go to the next slide. So this is just a comparison of numbers. So how does data or size of the data compare with the wireless capabilities that we have today? So VSAT and Vegan, we typically have, before we get to that, we typically expect memory of 128 gigabytes of RAM in a machine to hold this data. But then on top of that, we know that typical bandwidth available with VSAT is 4 Mbps. And at that rate, if you try to transfer 128 gigabytes of data, it's going to take you 8 hours. Just an example. Typical bandwidth available with Beacon is 500 kbps, which is even lower. So if you transfer 1 gigabytes of data at that rate, it's going to take 33 minutes. There are similar examples with 4G and 5G capabilities that we have on our phone. So similar numbers, you end up with half an hour or 1 hour wait time to transfer that data. So the point is, it's not a great idea to transfer all of your data in one piece and wait for it to arrive at the other end before you start interacting with. So we got around this problem. Let's go to the next slide. So we use supercomputing, which is the same infrastructure being used on various supercomputing labs. These have multiple nodes that work in parallel. What we do is we spread our workload across multiple nodes. Conventional supercomputing requires all of this to be available when you're interacting with that data. That increases the cost of the solution. So let's go to the next slide. In our case, we run all this pre-processing only once, after which the data, we start transmitting that data basically, and the high-performance computing cluster can go offline. So you can switch that off, and you don't have to worry about the cost of that infrastructure. So let's go to the next slide. These are some of the hardwares that were involved in our tests. So HoloLens 2 comes from Microsoft. HMT1 is a wearable headset that we tested on. By the way, HMT1 and HoloLens 2 both have hand gestures built into them, which we tested when you're navigating through that data. And let's go to the next slide. I think before we go too far, maybe we can play a video or perhaps show a live demo.
Well, I have here, so this is BujiBui actually. This is a live demo. So what we simply just went to the cloud, logged in with a unique user ID. And what we have here is a just a thermal power plant rendered. Now, I'm looking at this on a laptop, and that's what you're looking at, but the exact same model is accessible, as I said a couple of times, on a mobile device or a wearable headset. Not only that, everybody in this conference right now, all 71 or 75 of us, could be accessing the exact same model and interacting simultaneously in one massive concurrent session.
Ken, we are coming close to our time limit. Okay. So maybe we can just play the video of the 38,000 feet. This interaction was happening on board an aircraft, which was flying at 38,000 feet. And we were using the VSAT that was on the aircraft.
So a little bit back to the business model. So it's a software, it's licensable. We're looking at somewhere in the range of 45,000 US for the license itself, an annual maintenance of 15%. With a large enterprise client, there is going to be some customization required, and we're going to charge normal professional rates for that. The plan is, once we have a high degree of automation on the uptake of the data into the engine, we want to move to more of a mass market SaaS model with a slightly different sort of price schedule, but we think there's great opportunity in smaller models to be built. Distribution right now, we're going to have a three-pronged approach. Direct sales, so that is, directly contacting companies engaged in digital twinning, or we're contemplating a digital twin. We've explored thoroughly oil and gas, refining, ports, and shipping. We've just focused on those simply because it being a utility, it could be used in really any industry. We've done 2 pilot projects so far, one with Chevron Canada here locally, and one with the Port of Antwerp in Europe. Looking for partnerships, third-party vendors engaged with clients who can use our service, co-marketing, that sort of thing. I'm going to move a little faster. We're pre-revenue. We're looking for $4 million in pre-seed. This is really to take our minimally viable product and turn it into a commercially viable product, build some demonstrations, as well as automate the intake of data. We also need to build out our sales and marketing teams and really sort of formulate a company. Taiwan is particularly interesting to us. It's very obvious it's a very progressive economy. It's in the center of a number of progressive economies. The high-tech manufacturing is one of the areas we think that digital twinning is being pursued, and having a technology like ours, I think, can greatly enhance the efficiency, the operational efficiency, and really make a digital twin a whole lot better. And like I say, more valuable because it can be more consumable. Chip making. We did some work with a pharmaceutical company. We learned an awful lot about the sensitivities of the manufacturing environment in the pharmaceutical industry. It's very, very similar to the chip manufacturing industry. So we're looking for progressively minded investors, customers with big 3D data problems, and co-marketing partners. Well, this is us. Nihar here, he's the founder and CTO, and I'm a co-founder and a COO. I'd like to thank you very, very much.
如果对这样子的3D 以及 IoT 的全市资料平台有兴趣的产业先进以及投资人，欢迎您直接跟 Nihar 和 Ken 联系，或者是透过我们加拿大驻台贸易办事处。最后我要感谢各位今天的时间，谢谢你们让我们介绍8间加拿大的新创公司。明天下午1点半，还有我们另外一间 iRegain 加拿大的新创公司即将参加Pitch Contest 的最后10名决选赛，那也欢迎大家来认识一下我们这一间 iRegain， 协助中风的病患进行手部复健的应用软体，还有应用的硬体器材。那明天下午1点半，欢迎大家上 Pitch Contest 看我们这一间 iRegain 的介绍。也谢谢大家让我们介绍加拿大新创科技加速器。有兴趣想要与刚刚提到的这8间公司对接的产业先进，也欢迎跟我们办事处联络。我是 Judy， 谢谢大家，拜拜。